Towards the end of the NIDS era at Skinwalker Ranch, the most frequent intruders were not of the paranormal kind, but of the bored teenager kind. The ranch's notoriety had begun to attract trespassers and thrill seekers with some regularity. In 2006, one of these trespassers was unidentified flying object enthusiast Ryan Skinner, who had first learned of the ranch by accident. Skinner had been on a road trip with his girlfriend when he happened upon flying orbs very similar to those seen on Skinwalker Ranch. After he returned from this harrowing first encounter, he found out that his car had been passing through the vicinity of the ranch at the time. Intrigued by what he had seen, Skinner was determined to go back. He had always been searching for a place to hunt the paranormal, and Skinwalker Ranch seemed to have his name all over it. He began to make frequent nighttime trips out to the property, and on many of these nocturnal forays he met with the strange glowing balls of light. During one of these encounters, Skinner was hidden on a ridge watching as the objects seemed to be observing the cattle grazing below. The surrounding lighting suddenly began to flicker before going out completely. Shortly thereafter, the door to one of the trailers next to the grazing cattle was flung open and a security guard came crashing through it with a litany of profanity. The guard made a beeline for a transformer box and fiddled around for a minute or so before the light snapped back on.
The most interesting thing about this is that Skinner saw one of the balls of light turn its attention away from the cows and fly over to the guard. According to Skinner, the ball of light hovered right behind the guard as he worked without him ever realizing it. After the guard went inside, the orb hung in the air over the trailer, as if it was thinking about what its next move should be. Then it darted off to join the larger group of orbs that had been slinking around the ranch. Skinner's account seems to verify that as much as NIDS attempted to document and verify all of the strange happenings on the Skinwalker Ranch, the phenomena were always one step ahead of them. It was this very fact that led the scientists at NIDS to come up with perhaps the most startling conclusion of all, that they were dealing with a precognitive intelligence. Many have erroneously asserted that paranormal activity at the ranch disappeared when the scientists arrived. But it didn't. It merely changed its tactics. NIDS saw very much the same phenomena that the Sherman family did, but the activity was so randomized and erratic that they could never capture any hard evidence.
If cameras and other data collecting equipment were placed on one side of the property, the manifestations would just shift to the other. Those involved became increasingly aware of an extremely selective intelligence at work, hampering their investigation. This intelligence would pick and choose who it revealed itself to and what times and places the manifestations would occur. But most startling of all, it seemed to be able to predict the actions of the NIDS crew before they were implemented. If you moved left, the phenomena would move right. It knew what you were going to do before you even dreamed up the action in the first place. Before you even thought to move your right foot forward, this strange precognitive intelligence was already registering and tracking your movement. The NIDS scientists assert that it is for this reason that they were never able to get any hard data on the phenomena of Skinwalker Ranch. Now, you may be tempted to think that that's merely a handy excuse for their distinct lack of results. But before you start scoffing, you may want to consider some of the stranger things that quantum physicists have learned about the very fabric of our reality and how we perceive that reality. Because one of the major discoveries of quantum physics is that at the quantum level, things actually do change and react to our own observations. As hard as it may be to grasp such a strange concept, the veracity of this theory has been proven time and time again in laboratories all around the world.